Lavernius Coles. Yeah, he got the first and your last. Tim Hasselbeck joins us now. I stumped Tim on his own career. Let's talk about Davante Adams. What a monster year he is having. 11 catches, 142 yards on Sunday. Another 100-catch season for him, second of his career. Why it's so hard to contain him? What's difficult?
Well, listen, he's so good at getting off the ball when you try to jam him and get physical with him. And, you play off coverage, he's dangerous with the ball in his hands. And so kind of this catch-22 of how you deal with him. This is what I mean. This is a called run play down in the red zone. They're just going to throw him the football because he's got off coverage. Remember, everyone else is running a run play. He's just going to stand at the line of scrimmage because he's got off coverage, throw it out there to him, and then he does the rest. That's a touchdown. So next time down in the red zone, it's actually the same exact thing. It's another called run play, but they say, hey, heck with it, we're going to press him. Well, you press him, he's too good on the release, and he's too big, and obviously an excellent throw from Aaron. Then you get later in the football game and said, all right, how about we double him? Let's bracket him. But he does such a good job of continuing to work, selling the route, and bouncing back off of it. He's just so good. Now, obviously, you need a good quarterback to get him the football, but he is tremendous. I mean, as good as anybody in the league of getting off the jam. And because of that, and because he's good with the ball in his hands, he's nearly impossible to cover, especially when you're trying to do it with one guy.
I've had this premonition the past few weeks. I just got a feeling that Aaron Rodgers is going to get that second Lombardi. I don't know what it is, Tim. We know the offense can do it, especially if they got a couple home games in the NFC playoffs. But can the defense? Is this a team that can stop high-powered offenses, whether it's the NFC or if they get to the Super Bowl?
I think it really is, because they have playmakers, in my opinion, on every level of their defense. And I think their secondary is some of the most in the football. And if you can come up with a turnover against, a good team that you may be facing, in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl, and then you give Aaron Rodgers one more chance, you don't have to be the best defense in the world. You just got to be good enough. And I don't think there's any question that they can be that.
All right, Tim, stay right there. I'm going to hit a couple highlights. And my next question is going to be about the Cleveland Browns. People are curious about them.
All right, so combining both the Browns' loss and the Ravens' win means Baltimore now owns its own fate as it relates to the playoffs. The Colts are on the outside looking in. With the win over the Bengals next week, Baltimore will clinch its third consecutive postseason appearance. Now, there still remains a chance we see an 11-win team, miss the playoffs. That hasn't happened since 2008. That was with the Patriots, who lost Tom Brady to injury.
In these type of games, just proud of our players for understanding where we sat going into today's game and what's sitting ahead of us. And so we've talked about it all week long. Our guys responded, they listened, and they're coachable, and you love that as a coach. That third quarter for us, being able to come out and get 21 to 0 in the third and have 11 first downs, and our defense to hold them to no first downs and 8 total yards in the third. That was obviously the turning point of the game.
I thought we cleaned it up the second half. So I think it was just some self-inflicted stuff in the second quarter, but we made those adjustments at halftime, came out and was playing fast in the third and fourth quarter. So that's good. Teams make adjustments, and they know when to self-correct and when to get on each other and just communicate. And we were able to make those adjustments, and I think we did make some progress, especially in the third quarter, just putting the game away and coming away with a win as a team.
Quick note on the Jags. With that loss, they secure the number 1 pick for next year. But back to the Bears with a win against the Packers next week. They clinched their second postseason appearance in Matt Nagy's 3 seasons in the Windy City. They would also become the 3rd team in the Super Bowl era to make the playoffs after a 6-game losing streak. All right, so Seattle gets it done. Rob, your thoughts on what you saw?
Well, sometimes as a man, you have to admit when you were wrong. And I was wrong about Seattle's defense. Hats off to Ken Norton Jr. He was able to get this team to play at a level that I really didn't think that they could get to. And in these last few weeks, everyone was saying, yeah, the defense looks better, but they haven't really played anybody. And when they're playing the Rams, and this game was the biggest game of the year for them, and they came through with huge stops. And you hold Goff to 234 yards, a massive interception there in the red zone, stopping them on 4th down in the red zone. So these turnovers that they created basically won them this game, and it kept them in the game. So if they weren't able to make those plays, I don't know if they would have won this football game. So for them to move forward and have Super Bowl expectations, their defense has to play better. They played better, and they made a believer out of me. I mean, look, now I watch this tape. I say, look, they can do it. They can stop the run. They can stop the passing game. So, I mean, they look impressive today.
Yeah, and that's the one knock that so many people had about Seattle in terms of making a deep playoff run was that defense. But they stepped up today when they're trying to win that division. But let's be fair in terms of what happened here too, Tim, because if you look at L.A., some of the decisions that Jared Goff made, questionable might not be a strong enough word.
Yeah, Rob might be apologizing too early. Don't be so eager to admit you were wrong, because you really might not be. Look, they faced a quarterback that I think is just really struggling with his confidence, and it shows in his decision making. And that's really the most important thing. A runner, there seems to be kind of this hesitancy in terms of making decisions, and he looks to me right now like a quarterback who's kind of shook, which is really a problem for this Rams team, because if you look at them, they probably have a championship caliber defense, and they have other pieces in place as well, but the quarterback has to pull it together, and he's got a big one next week to get that done.
All right, so let's explain what this win for Seattle does to the playoff picture for them specifically. So again, they get the NFC West with the win on Sunday. It's their first division title since 2016, their fifth since Pete Carroll came to Seattle. But they got a lot to play for going into Week 17, though, that game against the Niners. They're still in play for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. For that, they need a win as well as losses in Week 17 by both the Saints and the Packers. Slim to get all of those things to happen, but nonetheless, it is a possibility. All right, so that's what's at stake for Seattle. Let's go.
We came out at halftime, we moved the ball and put ourselves in position to score. That's why I did what I did. Okay. Well, we didn't get anything going, so I decided to make the change. That's why we made the change. The one thing I thought was when we came out last week, all right, we were able to move the ball and put points on the board. So I was hoping for that same thing. The only problem was, unfortunately, they went on a 7.5 minute drive to open up the third quarter, and until we got the takeaway.
Ron, what did you think of Taylor Heineke's performance?
I thought it was gutsy. You know, I thought he took advantage of what they were doing in terms of playing soft and, you know, allowing him to take the underneath, allowing him to hit certain throws. I thought his decision to take off and run was outstanding. I thought he had great vision. He went through his progressions, read the offense out, and gave us a chance, which is all you can ask.
If Alex he remain the starter?
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how Alex is doing, and we'll go from there.
All right, Tim, let me start with you. Clearly, not a quarterback situation that any coach would want, especially one, though, that's trying to get to the playoffs. What did you make of Haskins today, again, in a situation where Alex Smith, the starter, couldn't go because of injury, and Haskins, who's had multiple chances to start, couldn't get it done?
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins played terribly. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. And it's really disappointing to think that, you know, a player was healthy enough to be back into the lineup. And that's really saying something, because, you know, Dwayne Haskins has a lot of physical ability. There's other aspects to playing the position, and you know, he hasn't been able to do it. I think it's got to be one of the more discouraging things that we have seen this season, is kind of how Dwayne Haskins has kind of squandered the opportunity that he's been given to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, you know, in more ways than just on the field. So that's a problem, and I think it's something that Washington, you know, kind of found out, you know, sooner rather than later, which is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, and Rob, I don't want to put all this on Dwayne Haskins because, I mean, this football team's had chances all season long, and like every other team in the NFC East, it seems like no one really wants to take control and win this division. What are you making of a Washington team that knew all they had to do was win and couldn't get it done?
Well, I mean, it looks like they were asleep at the wheel when they